All right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smithy with another GSD Mode podcast weekly real estate tip. And today I'm here to talk to you about your real estate CRM. How to go out there and set it up, how to have success with it, how to work it effectively so then that way you can convert leads at the highest possible level, can do more repeat referral business, and just utilize this amazing asset, this amazing tool to go out there and grow your real estate business. So often we hear that, the importance of a CRM in this industry. But what I find is that most realtors, a lot of team leaders, and definitely a lot of brokerage owners as well, have no idea how the hell to utilize this system. And when I'm speaking of a CRM here, CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management System. What are we in the business of? Managing relationships. We are in the human connection, human resource business. A lot of people think we are in the real estate business. Of course, yes, we are in real estate. The product that we sell is real estate, or, if you're a team leader, a brokerage owner, maybe you're supporting and helping your agents go out there and sell real estate as the product. But at the end of the day, it's not our real estate. It's not our product. What are we doing? We are facilitating the experience to help our clients get from the current living situation, that they want to go to, right? So again, we are in the human resource, human relationship game. The more people that know you, like you, trust you, aware of what you do for a living, the deeper, better, more effective that you establish that rapport and those relationships, the more that your business is going to continue to grow. So our CRMs very quickly become the most valuable and important asset inside of our entire business, right? So when it comes to our CRM, there's no more important system that you can have inside your business. But most in this industry, again, they don't understand how to set it up. They don't know how to work it. They don't know how to utilize this amazing tool to help them go out there and grow their business. So that's what we're going to do a deep dive here on this podcast today. Now, I understand that all of us are using different systems, different CRMs. So I'm going to make this kind of as generalized as possible. Now I'm going to get very specific, but I want to make this as generalized as possible. So then that way, and what I mean by generalized is that way it doesn't matter what CRM that you're using. I use Perfect Storm, but maybe you're using Perfect Storm. Maybe you're using, KV Core, Boomtown, Follow Up Boss, Wise Agent, whatever it is. There's a bazillion of them out there, right? So we all know all the different platforms out there. And I get asked all the time, well, Josh, what's the best CRM? Well, I'm very biased. So, of course, I'm going to say Perfect Storm because it's the one I have, the one that I use. I'm also the owner of the platform. So, of course, I'm very biased. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what is the system that you are going to log in and that you are going to utilize, that you are going to do consistently. And in combination to that, what is the system that can allow you to execute on your processes? So before we get into, a CRM setup and all of that, I want you to understand it at a high level of, okay, a CRM is a system. So what is a system? A system is where our processes live. So what are our processes? Our processes, think of processes as the instructions. So our processes are the step-by-step actions that we are taking to go out there and get the desired result that we want. So if you look at, CRM is the cookbook, and all of your processes, aka instructions, are the recipes that live inside the cookbook. And people are like, well, what's the best cookbook? I don't know. What the fuck are you trying to cook? What are you trying to make? Like, what kind of food? Like, dude, if I'm following, like with my diet, which is, a lot of meat, high protein, I don't want to say it's a carnivore diet because I do have some carbohydrates, but it's like, okay, like me getting a keto cookbook, me getting a vegan or a vegetarian cookbook doesn't really necessarily help me. Definitely not a vegetarian or vegan cookbook because my diet's the opposite of those, right? So what is the right cookbook? It's the one that has that allows you to execute on your recipes. And this is where, again, most go wrong is they don't take the time to feed in those recipes, feed in those instructions, feed in those things. They don't understand this, so you got to know what are those recipes? What are those instructions that we want to feed our overall CRMs? And I'm going to break all this down for you today and help you get this dialed in. So again, we already talked about this. I'm just looking at my notes here. What is a CRM? CRM is a customer relationship management system. That is where we manage, anybody and everybody inside of our system. So who do we add to our system? Well, of course, any leads, like real estate leads. So, Facebook leads, YouTube leads, Zillow leads, open house leads, any type of leads. We should have our entire sphere of influence. Should have all your vendor partners, any human being that that you may either potentially do future business with, or that may potentially send you referral business, should be inside your CRM. Now, it does not mean that you got to go put all of those, like, okay, maybe I go to church and I want to, connect with and network with church members, and I want to get them inside my CRM. Well, I'm not going to maybe put them unless they're interested in buying a house right now, but I'm not going to go out there and spam them with a bunch of real estate stuff, right? This is where categorizing and setup comes important. I just want those human beings in there, and again, anybody that I might do business with, or that might send me referrals, or that through that relationship, I want to focus on building, nurturing, and growing that relationship over a long period of time where it can lead to business, right? And in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And it's not a guarantee, but there's a probability there that business can happen out of this future relationship, which is every human being, right? That's out there pretty much can lead to that, right? So, and I look at this as like, dude, I can have infinite amounts of people inside my CRM. Why not have infinite amounts of people inside my CRM? And we'll get into categorization, all of that. All right, so our CRMs allow us to play the game. It is the number one system that allows us to play the real estate game at the highest level. What is the game? It's to get people to know you, like you, trust you, be aware of what you do for a living, follow it frequently, or keep your message in front of them frequently. Your business will continue to grow. Here's what I want you to remember, what I want you to understand is that your mother will forget that you are a real estate agent, right? To your mother, you are your mother's son or daughter. They think of you as their son or daughter. They will forget that you own real estate. So it is our job to teach and train people that, hey, we're here in real estate. It's our job to go out there and get people to know us, like us, trust us, build up that rapport, build up that connection, connect with other human beings, and then consistently planting those seeds that we're in real estate. And you can do this in a non-salesy way. It doesn't have to be all pushy and salesy way. Like even if I'm just communicating, even if I'm just emailing, I got people that like my vendor partners, or whatever, people in my sphere of influence, where I'm not spamming them with real estate stuff, but guess what? I want to email them. I have my CRM so I can categorize it. And then when I'm emailing them, man, it's coming from my business email. They've got my real estate signature in there. Even though it has nothing to do with real estate, it's still subconsciously planting those seeds that, hey, I'm in real estate, right? Okay, so that's what a CRM is. Now, I already talked about this, but just as a reminder, a CRM is only going to be as effective as the instructions that you feed it. So your instructions are your processes. I don't care what CRM that you go out there and get. If you get the best of the best CRM that exists on the planet, perfect storm, shameless plug, of whatever you think that it is or whatever it is for you. And I'm not saying there's no right or wrong. It's whatever's right for you. Then from there, the system alone isn't going to do anything for you. I look at a CRM as like a car. Okay, if I got, maybe you got the most badass car, whatever your dream car is. Maybe it's a freaking Lambo or whatever it is. Okay, well then I need two things for that car, for that car to go. All right, number one, I got to be adding it, consistently adding fuel. So we got to think of fuels, human beings that we're adding to the system, right? So got to always be consistently adding fuel, and then I got to get my ass in there and drive it. Right? At least as of cars existing now. I know the future might change with self-driving EVs and shit, but that analogy, for most of us still stands strong, for now. All right. So, you got to always be feeding it new contacts, feeding it new people, feeding it new human beings, feeding it new relationship or connections. And then you got to get in there and work it. Right? So we got to make sure we're feeding the right instructions, and then we're getting in there and working it effectively. All right. So then I look at a CRM is we've got it as a system, but it's a system that is really like an assistant. So if I'm going to go out there and hire an assistant, I'm going to have that assistant do things and take things off of my plate that assistant can go out there and do, that they're qualified to do, that they can do and do well. Then the things that they can't take off my plate that require me and need me to do it, I'm going to have that assistant remind me to do those things so I don't forget and they don't fall through the cracks. If you look at my executive assistant, she does exactly that. She does the things that I can have her do that she can take off my plate that doesn't need me and require me to do. And then the things that I got to do, well, she manages my calendar. So she tells me, hey, when I got to do things, when I need to show up, what I got to do, all of those things, right? She keeps me on task so I don't forget. So that's what I look at a CRM as. My CRM is an online system, if you will, that's going to automate and do the things that it can do well for me. I got to feed it those automations. I got to feed it those instructions. I got to tell it what those are, just like I got to train my assistant. I'm not going to go hire an assistant and just be like, okay, you're hired now. Now go do some shit, right? No, I'm going to train them exactly how I need them to be trained to do exactly what I needed them to do, when I needed them to do it, the things that they can't do, that then I'm going to train and teach them exactly how to task me and remind me to go out there and do those things so those things don't get missed. All right, so then from there, when it comes to now, we're going to get very granular into overall setup. Okay, so step number one, when I'm whether it's one of our clients at Perfect Storm, whether it's one of my agents on my team with Perfect Storm. And here's the cool thing, you guys. Before I started Perfect Storm, I utilized so many different CRMs, and this has just been my methodology. With any CRM system that I've used, whether it be Wise Agent, Real Process, or KV Core. I mean, I've used a bunch of them before. I started Perfect Storm I've been doing this almost 20 years now. Well, 18 plus, 19 years or so. So I've used a lot of different systems, and I use other CRMs outside of Perfect Storm in my other businesses, right? That Perfect Storm is very specific to real estate. I'll have a business over here that another business that's totally different business separate from my real estate business where I use Infusionsoft. I have another one for e-commerce where I use Klaviyo because it integrates great with Shopify, and that's great for e-commerce, drop shipping, all of that bullshit, right? So there's different CRMs, and this is where again you got to make sure. The reason why I use different systems is because look, Perfect Storm is built for real estate. It's not gonna handle the drop shipping and the stuff that I need for my e-commerce supplement business. Klaviyo is really built around that and built for that. So again, this is where it comes into, okay, what do I need this thing to do? And then what system allows me to do those things, right? Okay, so then let's break this down. So the first thing that I do here, and that I recommend to do, is to make sure that you've got all your contact sources. So when I say contact sources, I'm talking about, you can think of this as lead sources. The reason why I call it contact sources is because this is every human being. I'm not going to use my CRM just for lead follow-up and lead conversion. I want to use my CRM to help me go out there and convert, manage and convert all my leads. I want to use my CRM to manage all my clients, all my past clients, all my sphere of influence, right? So anybody I network with, family, friends, all of those agents, whether it be agent recruiting or referrals from agents, agent referral partners, whatever it may be, vendor partners. I have every human being when it comes to my real estate business that I'm utilizing and setting up my CRM to help me manage and keep on task with this. This is why I call it contact sources, not just lead sources, because not every human being that is inside my system is going to be a lead. Okay, so I'm going to upload all those contact sources, right? So now I'm not saying contacts. I'm saying contact sources. So any possible way that may lead to business, I want to go out there and have in there. And of course, our main ones, and you can add these at any given time. Usually it takes 2 seconds, but so like, let's just say you're in your real estate business, you're doing open houses, you're doing paid Facebook ads, you're doing, you have a YouTube channel, maybe you're doing Zillow, Realtor.com, whatever it is. Okay, each of those is going to be a contact source. Now, the more granular that you can get with this, the better, because this is going to help from tracking, but also help predicate and dictate what your follow-up processes are. So from a tracking perspective, let's just say I do networking groups. Okay, well, I'm not going to have networking group as a contact source, right? Like, I'm going to go through and have every networking group that I do. That way I know which business comes from which one. So let's just say, I have getting a lot of my real estate business from attorneys, right? And attorney referrals. Okay, well, I'm not just going to say attorney. I'm going to have each different type of attorney and that attorney's name. So I know, hey man, am I getting more of my business from bankruptcy attorneys versus divorce attorneys, and also specifically which actual attorney, right? So then even little things like, okay, well, past clients. Oh, my business comes from past clients. Okay, well, is that past client repeat business? Is it past client referral business? I'm gonna have those as 2 separate, contact/lead sources. Is it, SOI? So friends, family, other people that warm relationships that are not a past client. Is it they're doing business with you, or was it a referral business, right? If it's an agent, is an agent, like, I'm not just gonna have referrals. Because again, was it a past client referral? Was it an SOI referral? Was it an agent referral? So I want to go out there and list all those things. Every way that you do business, and have done business and continue to do business, marking writing those down, and then boom, we have those in there from a tracking perspective. But then also this allows us to then go out there and set up our follow-up protocols, right? So I'm using contact sources for tracking, and again, to allow me to automate my overall follow-up and whatnot there. Okay, so then from there, my overall methodology when it comes to my how I work my CRM is I put everything into these 3 kind of buckets, right? And then based on how these three buckets align, this dictates my follow-up protocol. So I've got types, I got categories, and then I've got that contact/lead source. So let me break these down. And how all of these things align, again, dictates what my follow-up protocol is going to be, meaning what instructions that I've fed into my CRM that's going to now task me to go out there and do. So types is going to be, okay, are they a buyer? Are they a seller? Are they a buyer and a seller? Is it an agent? Because I use my CRM for agent recruiting. Is it an agent, or is it an other? And I use other for kind of everything else, right? So, I've kind of got an other bucket because most CRMs out there will have a tagging system. So I find, okay, well, if I can have, an other category, an other option for like my types and categories, and then because we have, we can do infinite tagging. Well, then from there, that gives me, pretty much a workaround for anything that I need to do, right? There's nothing now I can't do in my system. So types, again, the main ones are going to be buyer and seller, other, or agent. Then category. So category is, okay, are they a lead? Are they a client? Are they a past client? Are they another, right? So lead, well, I should say there's one I missed. So you got lead, you got client, you got under contract, past client, or other. So then from there, I know, so okay, that's types and categories. So if we put those together, okay, let's just say buyer lead, buyer client, buyer under contract or pending, however you want to call that, buyer past client, right? So just as an example there. Then from there, we've got lead source, right? Which we already talked about. All the contact sources, lead sources mean same thing, contact/lead, however you want to, name that. But then from there, okay, how those three line up. So let's just say it's buyer, lead, open house. That would be how the type, category, and lead source line up there. Buyer, lead, open house. Well, then bam, that then dictates my exact follow-up. Okay, buyer, client, open house. Okay, well, my protocol and processes and my follow-up is going to be different than now that they're a client, right? So, seller, lead, expired. Seller, lead, whatever, like you guys get that, right? So based on so when I look at types, category, and lead source and how all how those combine, that dictates what now and then tells the system of what to go out there and do. All right, so then now let's get into, that's overall kind of high level, setup. Now let's get into, inputting and setting up, the instructions for automation, for follow-up and whatnot. Okay, so then the next step is setting up autoresponders. Now, autoresponders in most CRMs have these, but autoresponders are going to be those instantaneous, immediate emails, text messages that go out when, and pretty much for the most part, it's going to be online leads, because these are going to be those, when those leads are auto-dumped into your CRM, auto-placed into your CRM, setting up those instantaneous autoresponder email, autoresponder text messages, because look, speed matters, and we cannot always be reactive in this business. If you're in a listing presentation, well, when I'm in a listing presentation with the lead flow that I do and the lead follow-up that I do, when you're getting, and when I say this, I know not everybody's running a large team like I have here, here in Phoenix, but a team my size, I mean, we are generating thousands of leads every single month. So if I'm in a 2-hour long listing presentation, getting them signed up, because if I go on a listing presentation, you got to close that, right? Close that shit. Anyway, though, well, what if I get 3 leads while I'm in there? It's not uncommon, right? So then I want to, okay, I can't reach out to them. I can't call them until I'm done with the listing presentation back to the office. All right, well, I want them to get that automated email, automated text message, let them know, hey, I've received this. I'm in the field right now. As soon as I get back to the office, I will reach out. What I'm trying to do there is just confirm receipt, right? But then also at the same time, I want to keep them off of inquiring with another agent online, right? So whatever that is, whether it's my Zillow, so again, anything that, so what are common things for autoresponders? Again, for the most part, it's going to be online leads coming in your system. So, Zillow leads, Trulia, OpCity, paid Facebook ads, or free organic, social media strategies. People that are signing up on your website for becoming in as a lead. Google pay-per-click. There's Redfin. I mean, there's infinite, not infinite, but there's a shit ton of those online sources that are ported automatically in your CRM. This is another important note. With any lead source that you can, For the most part, it's going to be like any online based or third party based where you're buying, paying for leads, or online based whether it's paid or free. You want to have those where they're auto placed into your CRM. So like when I do a Facebook ad as an example, when I run that Facebook ad, then boom, that lead is automatically placed in my CRM. Automatically knows, like, because I build it out, Perfect Storm's link builder, so I know if it's what exactly ad it came from, if it's a buyer lead, if it's a seller lead. So that's auto placed in my system. It automatically knows whether it's a buyer, seller. It automatically knows that it's a lead. Automatically knows that it's in Facebook. So those 3 buckets, it's already done. Okay, well then it's going to know then to auto trigger my autoresponder email, auto trigger my autoresponder text, auto set them up on my 1,000-day email text drip campaign, auto task me to for my follow-up calls, which for that lead source is going to be called same day, then every other day for the first 14 days, and every 21 days for that first year until we've established communication. I know what their time frame is and their expectations and their goals are, and then it gets adjusted accordingly with that call frequency from there, whether under 6 months or 6 to 12 months or 12 plus months, then it's adjusted accordingly. But then from there, all that stuff automatically happens. So then all I got to do is jump in and do the calls, right? I'll jump in and do the calls, set them up on automated instant property alert search through my CRM. So I don't have to log into the MLS. I want a CRM that allows me to do all those things. Again, the more that you can get a system that allows you to do all things. So I want to be able to work on my transactions. I want to work on my leads. I want to be able to do all this stuff, have MLS data, all this stuff through one CRM, track it, measure it, see all this stuff from one system. Okay, so those I'm going to set up those autoresponders. So an instantaneous email, instantaneous text, and I highly recommend to go out there and customize these based on the lead source and based on what it is. So as an example, I had a Perfect Storm client who's also a coaching client of mine. Comes into my office last week because she's in my local market, and she was like, hey, it'd be easier for me if I just popped in the office and helped me set up my system versus doing it via Zoom. I was like, cool, come in the office. So we spent a couple hours getting everything set up. Well, one of her lead sources that she gets coming through is these aren't just your typical seller leads, right? These aren't your typical got a CMA. With the service that she's going through, essentially it's like an ISA service, right? So these are sellers reaching out that are expecting to set up, have a conversation right away to set up a listing appointment. Okay, well, we set up and created and just went into ChatGPT and worked together to craft some effective messaging and created her autoresponder text, autoresponder emails, based on that thing. Had another Perfect Storm client recently that is another lead source where he's like, hey, these particular seller leads, they are reaching out because they want an immediate cash offer on their property. Okay, well, that's going to be different and a different message and a different response than if it's somebody just wanting a home valuation and they're just curious. Yeah, right? So, like this is where, okay, based on that lead source, I'm going to ask myself, okay, like what were they doing there? Like what, when with Zillow inquiry, well, they're inquiring on a specific property, they have a question about a specific property. Okay, that messaging is going to be different than if somebody comes to my website and signs up for a free property home search, account so they can just go out there and view different properties. They haven't inquired on a specific property yet. So, there can be some nuances there, when it comes to that. So, thinking about that, right? This is again where it becomes important to think about this stuff. Okay, so then from there, I got my autoresponders. Next step is to go in and set up all of my different drip campaigns. Now, when it comes to your drip campaigns, don't think of your drip campaigns as just emails and just text messages. There's going to be 3 primary types of drip campaigns that you can do. You can do email drip campaigns, and I'm speaking of most CRMs, right? So you got email drip campaigns. And when I say most CRMs, you should not be using a CRM that doesn't do these things. Yeah, right? Most of them do it, but if they don't do these things, you should run away from that CRM. All right, so I want my drips to do 3 primary things. Drip email the client, so they're emailing the client on my behalf, right? Instead of me having to do it. Text messaging the client on my behalf instead of me doing it. So this is like the assistant doing those things instead of you doing it. And then it can task, right? So like task me to go out there and do those things. So like I said earlier, CRM is an assistant. That assistant's going to do those things for me that I, don't want to do or can't do or whatever. I'm going to delegate to the assistant. Thing that the assistant can't do for me, well, they're going to remind me to keep me on track. So like I just said a moment ago, okay, when I get a paid Facebook lead come in, and pretty much most of my lead sources are set up on this same type of frequency, will automatically places them on the 1,000-day email and text drip. So for the next 1,000 days, They're automatically getting this emails, these text messages on these days. It's all queued. I don't have to do a damn thing, right? So that ends up being, I don't know, about 55, 60, emails and texts, just from, one email text campaign that lead is going to be guaranteed to get over the next, roughly about 1,000 days, right? Then from there, of course, I'm going to set them up on instant property alerts. So they're getting those, every day or however long properties come up, plus I have mass emails going out, all things I'll talk about here in a moment. So go through and set up your drip campaigns. Now, what I recommend and what I do is I set up my email and text campaigns separate from my call campaigns. So I want every single lead in my system on 2 campaigns, an email text campaign and then a call tasking campaign. Why do I do that? Well, because my call tasking campaigns are going to shift. Like every call tasking campaign that I have for most lead sources, for the most part, is going to be calling same day, then every other day for the first 14 days, then every 21 days for the first year. That only exists until I get them on the phone. I establish their timeline. I establish what their goals are, what their expectations are. Whatever they say, cut it in half. Right? So if they tell you 9 months, that means it's 4.5 months. So whatever they say, you cut it in half. Well, then from there, okay, I'm not going to follow that same exact frequency. That's just a higher frequency to get them on the phone. Then I have a frequency for buyer or seller leads that are less than 6 months out. I have a different frequency for those that are 6 to 12 months out. And then I have a different frequency for those that are 12 plus months out. Right? So that's going to change. So as soon as I find out they're, we're probably about 18 months out. Okay. Cut it in half, 9 months. I'm going to cancel I call my immediate ones, my call tasking drip, no time frame established, right? So in that, for that lead source. So then I'll cancel that drip and then I'll add them on the, 6 to 12 month drip call tasking campaign. So then it's just tasking me to call them whenever I need to reach out and call them. So I don't have to think about it. It's just automatically tasking me. It's in my daily task queue doing that. So, it's just automation with that. Okay. So then, setting up those email text drips. So just map out. And what I do is I go to a whiteboard and I just start mapping out this, right? Okay. With this lead source, I take one lead source at a time. What would be, what's the first thing that I would do? What's the second thing that I would do? What's the third thing that I do? What do I do? When do I do it? How do I do it? Right? And what's that perfect follow-up protocol over from inception of lead until they become a client? What is that perfect follow-up protocol to have the highest possible conversion rates? So I'm going to map all of that out. If I don't know it, I'm going to find it out. I'm going to identify it, right? Like if you're like, well, it's possible for me to know this. That's bullshit, right? You don't know it yet, but it's easy to go out there and find this stuff out. All you got to do is go out there and find who's doing it, who's crushing it, who converts high at those levels, figure out what they're doing, right? And go out there and do those things, right? This stuff is not an impossibility to go out there and figure out, right? It's very, very simplistic and easy to go out there and figure out, like with all my coaching clients, boom, I just give them a zip file. Here's every single one, bam, download, upload, here's everything. So, you can go out there and figure this stuff out. Also in Perfect Storm, if you don't have a CRM and you're looking for one, all of my global drips, everything that I do on here that I'm just going through with you, whether it be agent recruiting drips, whether it be my Facebook drips, open house drips, expired drips, past client drips, all of those things, boom, they're all already built in for you. So you can just plug those in if that's something that you want to do. But anyway, you can go out there and figure this stuff out. So get your drip set up. And then when you're doing drips, also think of detours. So here's an example. I have a buyer appointment set, no-show drip. So that buyer appointment set means for a buyer consultation that I set up, they no-showed me. Okay, so then from there, I have that set up. It's a 26-day, 12-touch. It's going to automatically email the client 6 times over the next 26 days. It's automatically going to task me to call that buyer lead 6 times over the next 26 days to rebook that appointment. So when they no-show me, I just go in the contact record of my CM, click one button, bam, it's added. Right? This is a set it and forget it. This is what you want to have when I talk about setup, should be a set it and forget it system, with that. All right. So get those drips set up. Okay. Then from there, if you have transaction management, take the time inside your CRM, like we do in Perfect Storm, take the time to go out there and set that up. So I'm going to go in there. I'm going to set up all my transaction checklists. So just think of those as digital checklists. So from A to Z, it tells me everything, what to do, when to do it, how to do it, what's the due date, all of that stuff, who's responsible for it. So then, when I plug in a new contract, then bam, I've got my 58-step contract to close checklist already, executed, and then it reads, inspection dates and all the contingency dates, so I know exactly what's due, when it's due, so it ensures things don't slip through the cracks. Because again, this is, we want to make sure that things don't slip through the cracks. It keeps us on task, keeps us effective, keeps us efficient, right? All right, so then the overall goal with this is once you have these instructions fed into your CRM, is to get to the point where you just got to, for the most part, clear out your daily task plate. So once all this is set up, then I'll go into my daily tasks. I filter every day. I go into my contacts. I go into my filter. I filter, okay, any overdue tasks or any tasks due today, then boom, it pulls up that list. I go into the first contact, shows me exactly what task is due, gives me all those instructions of what I got to do. I complete the task. I take I notate it, I log it, do whatever's necessary to go out there and log it. And then once that's completed, then I go to the next, 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 then I go to the next. But when it's set up correctly, your system's going to tell you exactly what to do and when to do it, and it's going to do the things that it can automate for you to ensure things don't slip through the cracks. It's like with agents on my team, it's like, hey, we want to get them set up and get them rock and rolling. And same with all Perfect Storm clients, where all they got to do is clear out that daily task plate, to clear out that daily task queue. And if they do that, they are winning. Now, just a couple ending piece of advice here. I highly recommend that when you're logging all of your tasks and your contact records inside there, take detailed notes, you guys. I know we get rushed. I know it's easy to get rushed and be like, oh, I had a conversation with them. I logged that call, but take the time to add the notes, right? Because maybe you only have 100 leads. Okay, well, that's kind of, it gets to a point where it becomes an impossibility to remember everything that took place. So I want to know, like even with my past clients, okay, I get a past client, okay, I got a 20-year follow-up drip cadence and protocol for them inside my system. Now, when I say 20 years, I mean, those are my calls, because I'm also incorporating mass emails. So everybody in my system, everybody in my CRM, this is another benefit of a CRM, is you can go out there and shoot out broadcast mass emails. So I do a Monday motivation mass email to everybody in my system, so it's non-real estate specific, but I find it to be highly effective. I do 7 holiday emails a year that goes out there. Not real estate, just, hey, wishing you a Merry Christmas, you and your family Merry Christmas. Hope you guys have an awesome, awesome day, awesome holiday, right? Insert image. It's coming from my business email. It's got my signature, even though it has nothing to do with real estate, but it's still planting that subconscious subliminal seed that, hey, I am in real estate, and we do also a monthly market update report that goes out to everybody in our system. So everybody's getting 5.5 mass emails a month. So I can type out one email, go out there and, maybe it takes me 3 minutes to type up that email. I can send it to 90,000 people instantaneously, so we're getting, doing that. So all of our past clients are getting that. But with my past client follow-up task, boom, I task it tasked me to call them 7 days post-close, 30 days post-close, and every 90 days for the next 20 years. So I can capitalize and maximize on, keeping those connections and that relationship alive, to go out there and build up that repeat referral business game, right? So then from there, though, it's like, okay, even with past clients, it gets to a point where it's like, holy shit, man, I can't remember their kids' names. I can't remember what happened. I can't remember any of this stuff, right? Like, okay, well, I want to have all that stuff logged in the contact record. So all the kids' names, spouses' information, anniversary dates, birth dates, all of that stuff. So, I can remember to follow up with them at those times. But then when I, get them on the phone, I have those. I even have all their social media links in there. So as soon as, when I go in there, I can click on those, go right to their social media page, see if there's new things going on in their life. Plus with leads, if I can hunt them down on social media, it's like, some people, if I can't get people to call or respond to a call, respond to an email, or respond to a text after 21 days, okay, I'm hunting down on social media. Maybe they like to reply via DM. We're in this kind of multi-channel follow-up world. Well, inside, my Perfect Storm CRM and the contact record right under their name, got their email and their phone number. Then I got all their social media profiles right there. So I just click a button, boom, takes me right into their social profile, right? But then taking those detailed notes, right, and making sure that you take the time to log each action that you're doing. So like when you got a text going out that's automated, or an email that goes out that's automated, or like, in my system, and I'm assuming that all CRMs do this. It's been about 6 years since I've used an alternative CRM. But okay, every time I'm emailing out of the system or texting out of the system, it's automatically logging those. So all I gotta do is, log my calls in there. So then from there though, I can see, how long that lead was in my system, what source that lead came from, how many calls, how many emails, how many texts, Also allows me to, track all my appointments that I've had with them so I can see how many appointments, I can see, all of that stuff to a closing. And then with transaction management, I can, see what my commission was. And so this way I get a full scope and a full picture of everything in the business, right? So make sure that you're taking that time, to go out there and don't get too rushed. I get the concept of, wanting to be efficient and go from one task to the next, but don't sacrifice effectiveness for efficiency. Think about effectiveness and efficiency. Like, I'm all about efficiency, but I will never sacrifice efficiency for effectiveness, because building those relationships, building those rapport, it matters, man. When I call somebody and I know the exact reason as to why they're wanting to move, because I took those detailed notes from that open house and put it in there that, hey, they really want to get their kids in this school district and do this. I know it's important to them. So I'm following up with them now. I can speak to that. I can speak to their family. I can speak to the vacation that they just went on. Remember, we are in the human connection, human relationship business. It's all about building that rapport. All right, so this is, I know I kind of did a deep dive with you guys and shotgun a bunch of information with you, but of course you can go back, you can rewatch, you can pause, but those are at a very high level. This is, my recommendations for setting up your system, getting your CRM dialed in, but again, your CRM is only going to be as good, and this also holds true for any system inside your business. It's going to be dependent on the instructions that you feed it, how well you get to know the system. Like, if your CRM is the most important system you will use and ever use in your entire business, doesn't it make sense to get to know it? Like, it's kind of like a no fucking duh, right? Like if I'm a surgeon, I need to know my equipment, dude. I need to know my fucking scalpels. I need to know, like most agents will get to know the contract, but I'm like, okay, that's why there's so many broke agents out there. They're mastering. I'm not saying to not master, like not know your contract or know your local real estate in your market, but you also got to master the systems. Like the surgeon, he's mastered the body and the, whatever, maybe it's a bad analogy, but like they know the human body and what the surgery is for and the reasons for all that shit, but they also master the tools that they need to use to do that surgery. So master the tool, man, like get to know it and learn it, master it. You're going to spend more time in your CRM than any other thing, any other system that you should be. If you're not, that could be one of the reasons why you're struggling in this business. Then from there, take the time to feed it the right instructions, right? And then you got to get in there and work it. It's like, okay, I can have a fully gassed up freaking Lambo in my garage, but if I don't get my ass in there and drive it, it's not doing any good, right? It's just sitting there and collecting dust. All right, so anyway, I hope that this is helpful. If you want to check out Perfect Storm, go to perfectstormdemo.com. There's a link below, perfectstormdemo.com. You don't have to opt in. It's just like a full in-depth hour-long, a demo. And the reason why it's an hour long is because, it's an all-in-one system. So we've got, front-end websites for lead gen, branding, marketing. Then we've got, your robust back-end CRM. We've got transaction management. So I'm really walking you through step-by-step all of those. So you don't have to opt in. You don't have to give me any information. You can just go check it out and then, see if it's for you. But again, I wanted to cover this today because I know all of you, so many of you using different systems, so everything we covered here today applies to pretty much every system out there. And if it doesn't apply to the system out there, you need a different system, and I'm just going to, I know that that's kind of, blunt and hardcore and upfront, but it's just the truth, right? These are the basics and kind of the core things that a system should do. So anyway, hope that this was helpful. Keep crushing it. Keep kicking ass. Truly appreciate all of you, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.